Let's face it, in our busy lives, we don't eat enough fruits and vegetables. In fact, according to the CDC, only 1 in 10 Americans are eating the recommended daily amount of fruits and vegetables each day, missing out on essential vitamins, minerals, fibers, and antioxidants. And that's where Balance in Nature comes in. Balance in Nature sources only the best produce, free from pesticides, heavy metals, and harmful bacteria. And Balance in Nature is the best fruit and vegetable product on the market. They use only fresh, whole fruits and vegetables inside each capsule. They don't use any GMOs, fillers, binding agents, or preservatives of any kind. You're getting real food, real science, real nutrition. I would never endorse a product that I don't use myself, and since using Balance in Nature, I feel more alert, I have more energy, my focus is sharper, and I feel great. Live life to the fullest and choose Balance in Nature. And guess what? PAS Report listeners can get 35% off the first preferred order. Start getting the recommended daily amount of fruits and vegetables you need by using code PAS at balanceofnature.com.
Welcome to the PAS Report Weekly Roundup Podcast. The PAS Report provides an honest analysis on the critical issues that matter to you without the biased media filters. Here's your host, Professor Nicholas Giordano.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of PAS Report Podcast. As your host, Nick Giordano. Hope every one of you had a great weekend out there, and I love all the feedback that you sent regarding last week's episode on whether we, the people, need to start to engage in civil disobedience, and it seems it really hit a nerve with a lot of you out there. You reached out to me, you expressed your frustration, you expressed your anger, but you need to use that frustration and anger. You need to turn it into a positive force to restore balance within the system, to get rid of these petty tyrants, to restore the power to we, the people. That's the important thing. Don't let it go to waste. Then, of course, you got the leftist trolls who were very upset with me. They didn't like what I had to say, and I'll tell you, some of them make me laugh. One person wrote to me and they said, quote, "It's a global pandemic, dumbass, and governments are handling it, not ignoring it like the idiot before Biden." Now, I never respond to trolls because, honestly, it's not even worth my time, but it appears this person is saying that governments can essentially do whatever they want when it comes to a global pandemic, that they have the right. They have all the power and the people have no say in anything. I'd also like to remind this nitwit that we have a system of federalism where the states are the ones that are responsible for response operations, not the president. President's there to coordinate resources, which, if I remember correctly, President Trump did fairly well. He got the resources to the states. He fulfilled every federal request that was made. So I wonder if he's really talking about Cuomo and Governor Newsom and Governor Whitmer and all the other petty tyrants out there. And then another person wrote me saying that President Biden, quote, "just wants your dumb ass to live," end quote. I swear, these people all go by the same talking points. I'm telling you, they coordinate with each other. And again, this person's basically saying that the government could do whatever it wants in the name of saving lives. Constitution be damned, checks and balances be damned, it doesn't really matter. I said it last week. Free societies carry risks. If we say the government exists to eliminate all those risks, you don't live in a free society. That's what we call a police state, and even police states can't eliminate risks. There are a lot of things that we could do right now to save a hell of a lot more lives with things that are going to be here a hell of a lot longer than coronavirus will. I mean, we could ban alcohol. That will save a hell of a lot of lives. We can ban cigarettes. That will save a ton of lives. 485,000 people a year die from smoking-related diseases. If it's about saving lives, let's shut down our border. That will certainly save some lives. See, I can make this argument with every single issue that exists out there, and it's logic like this that brought us to this moment. There are people who will sit there and they will grant government all this power, and they never really explain what's the basis for that power or when the power gets restored to the people. They just say the government could do what it wants. Now, I could assure you that if it's someone that they don't agree with that's in power and they were doing all these things, I could assure you they would be screaming about tyranny and fascism. I mean, imagine, I'm the one that gets called fascist. I get called far right, all because I raise the questions about constitutional issues, all because I say I'm worried about the government gaining more power. Think about that logically in your minds. I'm the fascist because I want to take power away from the government and restore it where it properly belongs with the people. But I'm the fascist. These people are so dumb. But there are others who will not remain silent, who are pushing back, who are fighting back, who are organizing and doing great things. One of those people is Sean Farish from the Loud Majority. He's the co-founder of the Loud Majority. You know him. He's been on this podcast before. He's a friend of the show. He's going to be joining me to discuss what people need to do to organize. We're going to talk about this move towards authoritarianism. Before I bring Sean in, go to the PAS Report website, pasreport.com, sign up for the newsletter, follow the podcast so you never miss an episode, and share this podcast with your family and friends. With that out of the way, I want to bring in Sean Farish, co-founder of The Loud Majority, host of the We Will Not Comply podcast. Sean, pleasure having you on. How's everything going out there?
Oh, it's great to be back. It's great to be back with America's Professor. So thanks for having me back on. I can't wait to get to it.
Well, I always enjoy the conversation with you because we live in this horrible state called New York. It used to be a great state. It used to be a phenomenal state. But now I talked a lot about civil disobedience this week, and now we have Empress Hochul issuing a new mask mandate. What do you think about Empress Hochul's mask mandate?
I'm excited about it, actually. That was actually my favorite thing. You know, I never wanted 15 days to slow the spread to end ever. So I really just wanted to continue wearing masks my whole life. It blows my mind because like we didn't restart for, you know, they want to talk to you about like numbers and like following the science and all that. We didn't do all these new mandates for the Delta, and the Delta was killing people and it was spreading like crazy and it was, you know, really aggressive. This one, all you're hearing about, I don't know if anybody's died from the Omi yet. I call them the Omi. I don't know if anybody's died from it yet. I haven't heard about any deaths with the Omicron variant.
Neither have I.
I've heard extremely mild symptoms. It's essentially a cold. And it's like, there's like really no alarm. Like I haven't even seen the toilet paper fly off the shelves yet. Like usually with each wave, the toilet paper goes. Now she's deciding to do masks. It's not about the virus. Obviously, it's never been about the science. This is, your business isn't checking vaccination status. You have to now put a mask mandate back in place. It's going to kill those businesses. One way or the other, it's going to kill those businesses. Because if those businesses now have to turn away half of their customers or whatever it is for not being vaccinated, that's going to hurt. But if they have to put the mask mandates on, people like me aren't going to shop in there because I'm not doing that again. You know, it's just not happening.
No, neither am I. I'm done. And what really frustrates me is that all these measures have been done before. You have the strictest countries with the strictest rules, all facing a surge. When do people come to the point that, well, the orders, the mandates, the decrees, they don't really work?
Again, you have to ask these people to use a rational mind and look at where did we start? 15 days to slow the spread. For those keeping count at home, day 635 is today. So if masks worked and then vaccines worked, now fully vaccinated means 4 shots, which is, I mean, this is so funny because I'm not vaccinated. I will not get vaccinated. I see no reason to get vaccinated. And I'm not telling anybody else not to get vaccinated. I personally, my choice, I had COVID. I've got antibodies. I'm not afraid of the new variants. Usually when a virus mutates and there are variants that circulate, it does not become as, it's not as lethal. It's not as severe. All right, as the variants continue to evolve over time. That's what's happened. Okay. And you might be seeing that with Omicron, but I'm not vaccinated. I don't want to get vaccinated. I'm not going to get vaccinated. So me, unvaccinated now, I can't go into a bar in New York City. We're on 4 shots now, Pfizer's talking about. How long until the people with 3 shots in New York City also can't go into the bar where the 3-shot people are the same as the unvaxxed? It's going to piss off all those other people who've been getting jabbed their last couple months. So yeah. It's getting ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense, but here we are. You know, they're just stringing it out.
One of the amazing things is, first of all, if the Omicron variant is actually less lethal, if it's nothing more than just a cold, that's the time that you let it rip throughout society. That's the time you actually open up and let everyone get the Omicron variant if it is less lethal, if it's just a cold. So I don't know what these people are doing, but what really bothers me is when the Empress comes out and she literally stated that this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Now, New York State has, I think, an 80% vaccination rate. In addition, all the headlines today are also showing that, no, there's a hell of a lot of vaccinated people that are coming down with the coronavirus. In fact, in certain cases, you have more coming down with the coronavirus, the Omicron variant, that are vaccinated as opposed to those that aren't.
Makes sense. Makes sense because we know 2 things. We know, one, that there are more people who are vaccinated than unvaccinated in the United States. So we take that a bit of information, right? And then we look at the fact that the vaccine does not prevent you from getting sick. Okay. It might help you deal with the symptoms better. You may have a better layer of protection than somebody who has not been exposed or has not had the virus, doesn't have the natural immunity, and they're just, an empty vessel who somehow hasn't been touched by this thing.
Well, in the real world, we actually call it a treatment. We wouldn't call it a vaccine. If it gives you less symptoms and doesn't prevent the virus, then it's a treatment.
That's a therapeutic or a treatment, right? So we know two things. We know that there are more people that are vaccinated than unvaccinated, and we know that the vaccinated can catch and spread COVID. Okay. So if there are more people that are vaccinated and they still spread the disease, then the chances are higher that your patients who come down with the Omicron variant are going to be vaccinated people because there's simply more of them. Yeah. Okay. And so there are, I'm not going to call it a pandemic of the vaccinated either. I'm just saying, it comes down to probabilities, right? Since the vaccine doesn't offer you the protection that we were told it offers you, you're more likely to find out that a patient is vaccinated when they test positive for COVID and it happens to be the Omicron variant, because there are more people in this country that have gotten a dose of this vaccine than those that have not. Right. So and this is now the proof that these are not breakthrough cases. These are just cases.
Yeah.
And that the vaccine may be lessening the symptoms. Hey, if I was the left, I would spin it this way. Oh, all of the patients that we're seeing with the mild symptoms are vaccinated. And that's because the vaccine is doing its job. But no, they're still trying to blame the unvaccinated for something that was happening anyway.
Well, that's how dumb they are. They don't look at what the good arguments are, what the good messaging is. Instead, it's let's instill this fear. Let's take control over everyone's lives, and let's alienate and marginalize those that do not comply with the government. So now we need to figure out a way here in New York and these other tyrannical states. How do we push back? How do we end this once and for all?
Well, there's been some talk. I don't know. I don't know the not the legality. I don't know the measures to get this done, but there's apparently some sort of thing in New York and in other places called like a constitutional county or something like that. And we just had a red wave in Suffolk, so we could approach our legislators in Suffolk County and essentially find out if there's a way to go about doing that. The only other way to collectively push back, and this goes into schools and this goes into mask mandates and vaccine mandates and whatnot, is to everyone just collectively has to just say no. That's it. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard because there's the prisoner's dilemma. You don't know if that person next to you is also going to act and continue to say no while you say no.
Yeah.
Right. But that's why our group, what we did, and we've tried to install, give everybody that mindset, raise the morale. No, you're not alone. So don't be afraid to act. Right. But how do you take that mindset with you into Stop and Shop when they're telling you have to wear a mask and you go in there and you don't do it? Right? Because you're expecting to see other people that aren't doing it too. And even if you're the only person who's not doing it, that's how you push back. I was at Rockville Center's board meeting last night because they're segregating parents at school concerts. The vaccinated and the unvaccinated have to sit on opposite sides of the room. And the superintendent actually said, no, there are two separate sections, but it's not segregation. So, okay.
Even though it's the very definition of segregation.
It's literally right. Exactly. Clearly he never read Animal Farm. Some animals are more equal than others. But when there's this one guy, he was sitting in the row, he had his mask down around his chin. All right. And this guy happened to have signed into the night. You're supposed to write your name. He signed in as Donald Duck. So I don't know. So he already knew he was just being silly. So he's sitting down there. He's got the mask on. It's under his chin. The security guard walks up to him and goes, "Sir, you got to put your mask on." He goes, "It is on." He goes, "No, it's got to go over your mouth." He goes, "No." He goes, "Then I'm going to have to ask you to leave." He goes, "Good, get the cop." So the cop comes down and you just see, and I'm like, this is going to be a cop escorting a guy out without wearing for the mask. This is disgusting. I got my phone out. I'm ready to go. The cop told the security guard, "No way. I'm not doing that." And took him into the back of the room and said, "Look, okay, I am not going to be the one to throw somebody out of a school board meeting, right, for not wearing a mask." I don't know who the cop was, but you can tell that was the conversation that they were having. The gentleman got to stay. And I saw that happen and I went, that's it. Everybody take your mask off. Security guard comes up to me. "You got to put it on." I said, "Why? You're going to get the cop that didn't kick that guy out to come kick me out? Come on now." So that's it. But that's it. It takes one. Yeah. And you get bold. and you set the precedent and you build momentum and you push back that way. Civil disobedience, like you were saying at the beginning.
And that's the key, because I noticed when it was the spring and they said that people that are vaccinated can take off their masks, and everyone just started to, once one person in a store started taking it off, everyone started taking it off. The schools is the big problem, though. I mean, to me, what we're doing to these kids for long term, the damage that we're causing these kids, the emotional, mental impacts. What about parents sending their children to schools with no masks? How would that work?
Well, first of all, there's a real epidemic that is spreading across Long Island, is that there are students in public schools that are committing suicides at an elevated rate. We're finding out right now because I don't know if you can point to one issue or another. Okay. Yeah. That's just, there's a mental issue. Something happens, a breakdown happens somewhere. Is it tied to the pandemic? Well, it's after the worst part of it. And maybe there's some PTSD, or something going on. I'm not a doctor. I don't know. What I can tell you is that
when you take away a year and a half of a kid's life and you socially isolate them, that's going to cause some damage.
And that's why I think this Rockville Center thing is so bizarre, because you look at the board meeting last night, the room was packed. They didn't segregate anybody. But if they put kids on a stage to perform, the virus knows to get its ass in the room and infect everyone, I guess. Right. Or I think it's this sick that they're doing it in front of the kids to send the message to the kids that, hey, if you're vaccinated, you get to be with your friends. But if you're not vaccinated, look at that section. They're not having any fun. I think there's a mind game going on here. I think it's sick that this is what they were doing in Rockville Center. They'll deny it. There's no way I can physically prove that or tangibly prove that. I'm saying it would make sense if they wanted to push the vaccine on these children to start to subliminally imprint on their minds and say, hey, look at that vaccinated section. Everybody's next to each other. Not what you want to be. The unvaccinated section, they're separate. They're not having fun. They can't sit next to each other. They can't hold hands. They can't hug. They can't high five, all that stuff. Right. So it would be something kind of for the kids to see. They're up on that stage. They can see it. They can see the whole thing. It's like when you're watching a marching band go, you see all the formations. They'll be able to see it from that stage. I was in a band in high school. I know what that audience used to look like, full, right? I remember all those concerts, but it blows my mind. The schools, if you send a kid in without a mask, what are they going to do? They're going to give the kid a mask and they're going to ask the kid to wear it. If he doesn't wear it, they're going to lock him in isolation. You're going to have to come pick him up. The answer is, and there's unfortunately the answer is, I think it may be time to just take them out. I don't know how to do it financially. I know New York State's got a charter school cap. We can't just start opening schools and whatnot. Kids got to get out of public schools. I after what I've been learning about this week,
it's just
this week, about suicides, about potential misconduct among students and each other and all of these things, threats and violence, and it is a cesspool. And you can determine, look, it may not be a safe place to send your kids, and everyone gets picked on at some point in time, and it's happening now. And you don't think that the vaccination status is going to be a new way to pick on? So, you're unvaccinated, stay away from him. It's like cooties, but for real. You know what I mean? It's not good for these kids' mental health. So whether we think about the mask or the vaccines or the critical race theory, which Rockville Center couldn't define last night. I told a resident, go ask him to define it. See if he knows what it is when he says it's not being taught here. They couldn't define it. It was incredible.
But they never define anything. Issue. Once again, they don't have to explain anything. They don't have to justify it. Again, you have Governor Hochul. She issues this new mask mandate. It goes into effect today, the 13th. Well, what did it take the weekend off?
The virus is waiting 3 days. Yeah, COVID took the weekend off.
It took the weekend off. So that's what we're saying, that it has the weekend off, and it'll be here on Monday up until January 15th. That's the logic we're working with. What really bothers me, though, is when you try and pin these people down. I've contacted officials, never called me back. Sent emails, never respond to the emails. And when they do, they always say following CDC guidelines. That's when they do.
Right.
But when you ask, show me one study that masks are effective, they don't do it. They simply ignore the constituents that they swore to serve. Has the ruling class gotten so out of touch? Have they forgotten who they swore to serve? And what does that spell for the future of New York?
Well, the ruling class has not only forgotten who they swore to serve, they think we serve them. That's the problem. They think we have to answer to them, as if we didn't put them there. Right? As if we're not the reason they're sitting in those seats. And that's important. And that's why I like to, back in campaign season and all of that, my favorite thing to say was, if we can't change your mind, if we can't change the mind of the people on the Board of Ed, we're going to change the names of the people on the Board of Ed. And that seemed to get a lot of people to think, what do you mean change the names? It means you over there, that you come to every board meeting and you speak at every board meeting and you got kids in the district and you're foiling and you're staying up. You got to get up on that board, right? That's a school board level. What do we do at the local level? All the way, from here to Albany, and have these people lost touch? Of course they have. And that's why New York is what it is. They've lost touch with reality. They've lost touch with their constituents. They've lost touch with just about everything. And that's why this state has fallen the way it's fallen.
It's crazy.
What happens afterwards? Well, we're going to have to chip away, election cycle after election cycle after election cycle on a long game. But for the short term, it's civil disobedience. You want something done? It's time to start protesting. You want to do some sit-ins? We can, if that's what it might take to do it. Martin Luther King, he showed you didn't have to be violent and burn down the AutoZone to make change.
Yeah.
We've never wanted to do that. And I think that's what it's going to take.
The two sides have very different ideas of what civil disobedience is. If you're on the left, you could riot, loot, commit arson. But if you're someone that believes in the Constitution, wants to uphold the concepts of liberty and freedom, and you sit there and engage in civil disobedience, you're a domestic terrorist.
Oh, yeah. Oh, complete. If you put a flag on your pickup truck, you're a domestic terror. The FBI, they're going to call you tomorrow. Hey, what was your involvement in? No. What do you mean my involvement? I got a flag on a truck. What are you talking about? Unbelievable. I remember a story a few months ago where the Loud Majority was doing one of its car parades, and a reporter said that she felt unsafe because of all the American flags that were on people's cars. Mara Gay. Yes, New York Times. She saw a bunch of American flags. There was a big Unmask the Kids rally that was taking place in Port Jefferson that weekend, actually. I remember that. And we saw the article the following day. Oh, there were American flags and pickup trucks on Long Island. And I was like, I think I know who that was. You know what I mean? And it was great because I can't stand her. She's a hack. She's a hack. She's a racist, quite frankly. And she's just a hack, literally. Paper, you read her articles, you read her content. If you're disturbed by the American flag, something's probably wrong with you. And you shouldn't be a journalist.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be, because you can't be fair and free if you're offended by the American flag.
You're obviously the problem then. If that offends you, you're obviously the problem. And I think that a big part of the problem is also just the ordinary people that they're afraid to speak up. Like at some point in your life, you have to show courage. I speak to tons of people. Most of them despise the mask. They don't like all the mandates. And it's not saying that government doesn't have power and authority to do certain things, like put it through the legislative branch. I mean, at least they're supposed to represent us.
Right.
So what's on the horizon for the Loud Majority? What do you got planned going?
We are going to be over the next couple of days, next couple of weeks to close out the year. We'll be at Turning Point USA's convention, the America Fest in Arizona. We will have a very good time there, good access there. Close out the year, we've got an event at the America First Warehouse New Year's Eve, so take a look and keep an eye out for a flyer. I think we've got Sid Rosenberg, who's going to be headlining that and hosting that for us, so that's pretty cool from Bernie and Sid. And then into the new year, we are getting ready to tackle 10-plus school boards here on Long Island, and we're going to start sitting with different districts who are getting ready to present candidates that we're going to be able to sit with and talk to and make sure that they're the right people and just start getting everything dialed in for school board season, because we got to get those names on ballots between February, March. We get out there in March, April. We start talking about school boards. May is the school board election, second week in May. And then after your school board elections, you're going to have about 3 weeks, before the primary elections for governor, Democrat and Republican. If there's a Republican primary, I'm not sure if Giuliani and Astorino are going to be able to get on a ballot yet. But if they are, there'll be a primary. Democrats will have a primary. Suozzi, de Blasio, I can't even say it without laughing. No Letitia James, which
that was
me,
a surprise.
But I'm cool with that. I'm definitely okay with it.
I think Kathy, that has something to do with Cuomo striking back.
Maybe it does.
He's got some skeleton in the closet. For her to say that she's not running, there's a skeleton in that closet.
Maybe it does. So let her stay where she's at, because then we have the primary in June. And then after June, you talk about that's a 6 month of the year. You got 5 months left. And it's the 2022 midterm elections where our governor seat's up, and we do have a Senate seat running, and we've got Congress, congressional seats that are going to be open everywhere. Those maps are about to be released because they're being redrawn to redistricting, and which should be interesting because the Democrats are in power. And that's it. I mean, November 22 is, honestly, to me, it feels like it's around the corner. It's 11 months away. It's 10 months away, but time goes like quick. This. I can't believe we're almost done with 2021 already.
I can't either.
I'm still like, what happened to 2020?
Well,
So
the last 2 years of our lives. I mean, we're now heading on 2 years of this BS.
Yeah,
that's going on, and thank God 2021 is closing out. But
yeah,
with this governor, who would have thought she would have been worse than Cuomo?
I mean, Cuomo in a dress is what I call her.
She's more.
It's not that she's worse; she's much worse. It's not even like she went a little further. She just, and that's probably why she did that, because now she's polling higher than everybody else, because she is doing the more quote unquote progressive things. Unfortunately for her, and that's okay, she can keep doing this. Unfortunately, people are going to get caught in her wrath. This is not going to end well, because they may like her now, but in 6 months, when she's gone further left than she is today, she's going to alienate people. You can't push the envelope too far. New York's a lock. There's no reason for her to be doing all this progressive crap other than the fact that she's got people challenging her, right?
And
but
that's the
New York's
thing.
a lock. She could put her feet up, right? And just and make Lee Zeldin have to work hard. And she could fundraise in her sleep. The New York Democrat Party is a machine, but she's not doing that. And I think that's going to come back to bite her. Vaccine mandates. Now the vaccine's not 2 shots, not 3 shots, going to be 4 shots, right? Bill A8378 is the public school vaccination bill, the requirement. That is going to, if that gets passed, she will have signed her death wish to the 2022 race, that I believe, because you are dealing with suburban mothers right now who are waking up or either crossing over or waking up and participating for the first time ever. I looked at our Facebook page. We've got the 16,000 followers on the Facebook page, and the demographic shocked me. 70% of our followers are women.
Yeah,
70-30 women to men.
And that's amazing, because when the moms get involved, that's when you actually do see changes. And you would hope that they would all speak out. So New York State, there is a change coming. There's no doubt about it. What I can't understand is when you look at the far left in 2018, even 2020, President Trump, whatever, he's not in office, Biden won. But even in 2020, it wasn't the far left candidates that actually won. In 2021, it wasn't the far left candidates. Why do they keep tracking to the far left when that's not where America is?
Because they get points on the media, and they're getting points from whoever it is that is essentially funding or incentivizing to push the agenda. It's like look at like an influencer on the internet or something. The brand comes up to them and goes, I'm staring at it right now. A peanut brand, right? Goes, put this in your next video. Okay, fine. Do I like him? No, but I'm going to collect the money from it. So I think there are some people who don't actually like this that are just grifting. This is their career. This is what they do. They're salespeople. Right? They're to them, they're just brand representatives. I am blah, 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 and I represent diversity, equity, and inclusion, and I'm going to do my pitch. And I'm going to collect my money, and then I'm going to go home. That's essentially what a lot of these politicians do. They lobby for the lobbyists. It's and that's their career. Their career is supposed to be serving you, but they get into office, and then a lobbyist writes a bigger check than you write. And now they serve the lobbyist because they're taking that money, right? In addition to the money that they get. Right. So this is the dilemma that we face. And it's like, we need some term limits up in here, in Congress.
I would love
federal term limits.
Love term limits.
We need to continue to churn this, because we are in a spot now in New York. If we lose 2022, I really think that's it. I mean, that's
game over.
What do we do at that point?
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing, you know what I mean? That's it. I mean, what are we going to do?
Well, sometimes you feel like you're in two parallel worlds, two different worlds. I mean, you had President Biden just yesterday. He hosted the Summit for Democracy, that democracy is under threat. Never once did he mention that democracy is under threat because of all the petty tyrants that are bypassing the state legislative bodies, that are violating 8 out of 10 of the first constitutional amendments. It's not under threat that you have bureaucratic officials who were never elected into office making all the rules, being the driving push behind a lot of this in one sector of our government. That's not the threat to democracy. The threat to democracy is misinformation by conservatives. The threat to democracy is those that push back against critical race theory, those that push back against mask mandates, those that push back against vaccine mandates. Those are the threats to democracy. I'm sitting there, I'm like, might as well have communist China hosting the Summit for Democracy.
Yeah, I mean, I think China and Russia both kind of took a parting blow at Joe Biden for like, why is he talking about democracy? Like, doesn't he know what he's doing? I thought I saw that online, but I don't know for sure. We are boycotting the Beijing Olympics, just not sending diplomats there. Ooh, big move. We're threatening to impose sanctions on Russia, right? But it doesn't matter. We're no longer energy independent. They're making a killing in the oil and the energy industry right now.
It's amazing.
So what do the sanctions matter? They don't. Nobody's talking about that.
And the sanctions were on Russia in the last administration.
Right. Look at how tough he's getting on Russia. He doesn't let Putin push him around. We made Putin a ton of money over the course of a year by shutting down the damn pipeline.
Yep.
What are we talking about? But the media, these people that fly to the left because they get on the TV, they get the Twitter following, they get the little blue check mark. You know what I mean? You know, and they're stupid. These people are idiots. Adam Schiff, are we kidding? Eric Swalwell, and he wants these people wanted the Fang. Thank you, right? Like these people are morons, but they say the right things. They regurgitate the nonsense that they were told to regurgitate. Right? Donald Trump is bad. You know, January 6th was Pearl Harbor times 10, and 9/11 on steroids. You know, democracy's under attack. You know, the system is racist. And hide in your homes. Yeah. You know, and that's what these people are doing. Because the media claps for them. But the people, I think, the voters have had enough. Numbers are showing that. The polls show that.
Well, I just read a poll today that even Democrats are turning against all these COVID restrictions. So
because they got enough.
I know. Well,
it started with 15 days, and that was Trump. But it was 15 days.
Now it's
if masks worked, if all this crap worked, why are we on day 635? Someone's got to explain that to me.
They won't. They just ignore that question. Just like they ignore the natural immunity, just like they ignore, cloth masks. We know cloth masks don't work. They've come out and stated, we know they have zero effect, and yet they'll never respond. It's just to give you the illusion of safety and security. And these people are so dumb that they buy into it. But hopefully they're waking up. Now, before you go, is Trump around where he could wish the audience, the PAS Report audience, a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays?
Yeah, of course. I could get him on the line for you if you want. To the wonderful audience of the PAS Report, you're looking at America's Professor Nicholas Giordano, fantastic person, highly respected. And we want to wish the audience a very Merry Christmas, which we're allowed to say that again when you believe it. You think about it. We weren't allowed to say that for some time. Then I came in, I changed it up. We're allowed to say Merry Christmas once again. So we say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, happy and healthy and safe, believe me.
I'll tell you, he does the best Trump impression around. No one even comes close. No one comes close. And I always enjoy talking to Sean because it's people like him that this country, it explains, it epitomizes what this country is all about. So I want to thank him for coming on. Check out The Loud Majority. Be sure to watch or listen to their show, We Will Not Comply. I have all the links up at the PAS Report. As always, don't forget to give the PAS Report a 5-star rating. Take 30 seconds to write a review on Apple Podcasts. Share this episode with family and friends. Post a link to this podcast on your social media feeds. And I want to thank JF Podcast. I saw his message on Podchaser. Very powerful episode. Everyone in the world should listen. Please post everywhere you can. Thank you, JF. Appreciate that. So keep the ratings and reviews coming. I got a great episode lined up for Wednesday, so make sure you tune in. I want to thank you for joining me, and I want you to stay safe out there.
Thank you for listening to the PAS Report Weekly Roundup Podcast.
Have a good one. Bye.
Be sure to rate, share, and subscribe to the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. Also, visit PASReport.com and follow us on Twitter at PAS Report.